License and registration, he can sense your aggravation.
On the head of the fallen angel.
When the world is muttering under the floorboards, stomp even louder.
Time.
Let them know you are alive today.
Or unhum.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Whisper tones unraveling like silk.
Blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Sway, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
My poetry, like my life, rarely surprises, which for some is too plain, too staid and steady. For those souls seeking jolt or jar. But I've had more than my share of unexpected turnabouts, more than enough unanticipated finales, abrupt and incomplete finish lines. These days, I appreciate the serene, what some declare boring, but I like to know where I'm going and freely allude to my goals. That's not to say all is always calm, nor always planned, easy to anticipate or predict, but surprises, I'm not always a fan. When I set out to challenge, you know it, and tests, I believe, are best announced. So spare me the cunning and cute. Direct and true gets me there best. I'll forego etiquette, a trend some might detest, but life has shortened and has taught me this. Straight and sure works better than turns and twists. After an early life of peaks and valleys, I simply prefer peace. Hello, and welcome to Sojourn with Words. For those that are part of the Sojourn with Words family, welcome back. And for our new viewers, welcome. And we're very happy and excited to have you with us. Today's guest poet, I'm very excited to share, is Dr. Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda. And I should ask before I say it, Foronda. Carolyn, tell me the proper pronunciation for your name.
No, that was perfect. Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda.
Okay, I thought I had it right, but I said, well, I don't want to be crucifying your name throughout the program. But for today, will be Sistah Joy and Carolyn. But Dr. Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda served as Poet Laureate of Virginia from 2006 to 2008. And she has co-edited 3 anthologies, co-authored a poem play, and published 9, and hear me now, 9 books of poetry, including The Embrace, Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, winner of the International Art in Literature, the Mary Lynn Kotz Award. Now, Carolyn is the recipient of 5 grants from the Virginia Commission for the Arts and has won the Ellen Anderson Award, a Virginia Cultural Laureate Award, multiple first place awards from the Chesapeake Bay branch of the National League of American Pen Women, a resolution of appreciation from the Virginia Board of Education for her service as Poet Laureate, an Edgar Allan Poe Poetry Award, 6 Pushcart Prize nominations, as well as other awards. My goodness, Carolyn. Let's see, before I close out the introduction portion here, Carolyn's poems, along with those of other Virginia Poets Laureate are featured in 2 permanent art installations in Northern Virginia as part of the Washington Metropolitan Area Authority Art in Transit. Carolyn, oh my goodness. Let's see. Also, Carolyn is a Fairfax County teacher and artist and was named a cultural laureate for life by Governor L. Douglas Wilder for using her talent in the creative arts to inspire others. Oh my goodness. First of all, Carolyn,
Yes.
tell us about, we're familiar with poet laureate, but cultural laureate. That, frankly, for me, is a new term. So tell us a little bit about what that means and why we should expect something different from you, because you wear quite a few hats. Oh my.
Well, I've been teaching my whole life, and I know you mentioned that with Fairfax County Public Schools. I also worked as an English specialist and as a writing resource teacher. And I have given so many workshops, I couldn't even tell you how many are on the list. But I love working with students. And I also I went into nursing homes. I worked with homeless, in homeless shelters. And I worked with students who were disadvantaged, and I love doing that because everybody needs help. And a lot of people don't realize the talent that is under the surface. And when I worked in some of the nursing homes with Alzheimer's patients, they came back into reality and wrote poems that you just wouldn't believe. And Governor Douglas Wilder awarded this prize to me, and it was just such an honor, to be recognized for doing that, for helping others. That's what life should be about.
Exactly.
Not just us, it's other people that matter.
Right. And that's what I've always viewed poetry, frankly, certainly during my term as Poet Laureate for Prince George's County. It was a position of service. And that's what we must understand, that when we are appointed to these positions, and certainly oh my goodness, your resume, it shows that you've taken it to every arena, from the youth to the elder, and that is something for which we commend you and thank you. Talk to us a little bit about some of your accomplishments specifically during your term as Poet Laureate, or what was that pretty much what you were encapsulating during that just a moment ago.
Exactly. And I do want to mention, I have to thank you so much for what you do for poets. I mean, when I met you, I just connected immediately because I saw the kind of person you are. So thank you for that. It makes a difference in the world. Now, in 2001, before I became Poet Laureate, I set up a Poetry in the Schools program to promote poetry at all levels. And during my term as Poet Laureate, I traveled all over the state, just countless. I never, I'm just a workaholic and a happy worker bee. But I
we have that in common.
Do what?
We have that in common.
Yes, we do. We love to work and do things that help others. And the schools and universities that I went into included Virginia Tech, Virginia Intermont College, George Mason University, and also University of Mary Washington, and just schools all over the state, like I said. But also I went into elementary, intermediate, and high schools to work with those students. And it was amazing what they created, their poems. Now, I promoted poetry contests that were sponsored by the Poetry Society of Virginia. And these were contests that were also for students who were in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then I led an effort through the Poetry Society of Virginia to set up a big prize, an endowed poetry prize. And this was sponsored by the Academy of American Poets. And it's still in existence because we were able to set up endowments. And the schools in Virginia that received this prize, and I should say their students Virginia Tech, College of William and Mary, University of Richmond, University of Mary Washington, and Old Dominion. Now, I also set up a poetry book giveaway project, and you won't believe this. I didn't when it happened. White Pine Press and also the University of Arkansas Press donated countless books, and I got them right out to the schools, and you should have seen the students. They were jumping with joy, and they started reading poetry, and I've kept up with them. I stay in touch with my students, even those that I taught 50 years ago, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I know it's great. My husband and I have gone to their reunions, and my husband's quite the great dancer. So we get out and dance in front of the kids. They can't believe it. But all of the books that went to the students, they were just thrilled. And then they kept writing poetry. Now, another project that I had was to try to preserve the pristine ecosystem. And I went on tours. I went on kayaks trips down the Dragon Run, which is at the headwater of the Piankatank River, which flows into the Chesapeake Bay. And oh my goodness, I wrote a poem called The Dragon Run, which I'm going to share with you today. And this was used to introduce a DVD about, taking care of pristine ecosystem. And I should tell you that right after this, I wrote the book River Country, and it's a book of poems about the Tidewater area where I live. I moved from the Washington, D.C. area, in Northern Virginia, down to the East Coast of Virginia, and I just love it here. It's very quiet, peaceful, and helps me write. Now, another thing that I did was I established a poet spotlight page on my website, and I featured poets, not only, poets who are adults, but I featured younger children.
Oh, that's so critical. Yes.
They loved it. That made them feel so good, and they kept writing. And then I did what I'm sure you do. I wrote blurbs and introductions to books and so forth. And the last thing I want to mention is that I've worked for a number of years for the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, one of my favorite museums. And I've also traveled around with their statewide partners program and taught students. And sometimes with the help of my husband, who's a native Hispanic speaker, we have gone into classrooms where the students didn't even speak English well. And it's amazing the poems that they were able to write. Patricio, my husband, translated everything that I said. So, again, it's what we do for others that matters.
Absolutely. You touched on a point. I remember one of the district council meetings I attended. I did not know that it was a Spanish-speaking community, and I had written a poem for the occasion to present specifically to that community based on an activity happening there. And when I got there, it was only because the county council representative had someone who could translate my poetry so that they could understand. And I said, well, this is an eye-opening experience, because more and more our communities are becoming more diverse, and we have to be responsive to that. So it is wonderful to hear that you had that opportunity as well, even through your husband, no less. So
yes,
that
yes.
is wonderful, wonderful. Well, certainly it sounds like you're continuing to work with the youth as well as the elder. When you talk about poetry and the ecosystem, which is so much in the forefront of issues of reality today. I won't even say the news. I'll just say issues of reality for today. We have to be mindful of that. How was it received that your poetry would be addressing such a significant issue by the state and the legislators and what have you? What was the response?
Oh, the response was great. People were so happy that I was out there trying to, do what I could for the ecosystem. And then Patricio and I set up a nationally certified backyard wildlife retreat. And you wouldn't believe the animals. that come. And it's, it's primarily birds. In fact, we have seen our first hummingbird this year, and we're so happy about that. And just doing what we can to get out there and promote the need to help save our environment. Now, we don't even use fertilizer, and yet our grass grows. It likes it here, so it grows, and we're surrounded by trees, and we're on a private cove. So getting out and making a difference matters.
And that's the thing. Poetry has a purpose. It's wonderful that poetry is beautiful. It's wonderful that when it rhymes, and it's wonderful when the children embrace it. But there's work that can truly be done through poetry. And I thank you for taking up that mantle and going forward in such a significant way. We're going to hear some of your poetry now. We're looking forward to hearing maybe at least one of the poems that reflects your work with the ecosystem, but we want to just leave it in your camp as to what it is that you will share with the viewers of Sojourn with Words right here today on CTV. So again, I'm honored to, for those that may have come in late and don't know exactly who it is we're talking to, this is Dr. Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda, poet laureate, former poet laureate for the state of Virginia, and she's going to be sharing some of her work. So, Carolyn, what do you have for us today?
Okay, the first poem that I want to share with you is entitled Music of the Hands, and it's for a deaf student teacher that I met. I spent countless hours going out and observing teachers and evaluating them. And oh my goodness, this opportunity just really impacted me deeply. Music of the Hands. All morning, you've crafted words that become moonlight sonata while shadows stream across the floor. I do not need to know you to praise the way you speak. Your hands curved into sparrows, harmony gliding from their mouths. Watching your arms move like a maestro's, I know you have something festive to say. Wherever there are schools, perform your music. Let your fingers dance the mazurka's brisk step. And for those who prefer the tempo of jazz, play ragtime as you do now in a wind that ignites the eyes of children. Now, this next poem came about after I traveled to Kenya. I took my students for 25 years on trips all through Europe, but on this occasion, I went with a friend to Africa, and I just loved it. Now, we saw the flamingos that were on Lake Nakuru, and this poem is entitled, You Don't Need Binoculars to Be a Birdwatcher. Take Lake Nakuru in Kenya, the vast number of flamingos. What greater bird than the lesser, carmine red, the legs startled the water. Perched on stilts, it slips its bill beneath the surface, flips its tongue into place, then dips for algae. Outnumbered, the greater towers to 6 feet, feeds on mollusk, then clears the lake, soars over tiers of yellow acacias, glinting in pure sun. Rock-strewn hills, every detour opens up on pelicans, seems an overture to the view at the top. Pink slides from sky like a rainbow into your eyes, mesmerized by the flight. You ask why there's so many birds rushing to earth. Don't waste time looking through binoculars. Start running to the lake's edge for a closer view. Look into the liquid heart, where the blue-green pulsates, red beaks sucking, then spewing out water. Follow the pelican's snow-white ascent into the flamingo's flight. Be like the birds. Lift. Ignite.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
Continue.
Yes. And would you like to hear a few more?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love Shakespeare, and his work contains over 600 references to birds of all kinds. And this poem is called When Birds Speak. How can one ignore his chattering pies, a lapwing close to earth, every goose cackling a strutting chanticleer? They are all there in his drama, dab-dapper, pigeon, woodcock, wagtail, and among them such pretty talk. Did he study birds to see how all creatures work, how man in his folly climbs commanding peaks? A vulture circles, then swoops. In the shadow of its wings, wren and robin hover over their young. They are all there, swift flight. The swallow points its wings and ascends while thrush and jay harmonize with wind. And the graceful swan, what metaphors did he see in her? Royal birth, music, majestic curves of the universe. He must have sat next to her, away from paper and ink, with her neck arched like a river's bend. He must have seen prisms in those feathers, prisms in expanded wings. When the birds spoke the language of waves, they flew to him out of elm and ash, always a triumph, birds on every branch, and the playwright in his haven, learning to sing. Now, in this next poem, I'm going to read to you about the Dragon Run, the kayak trips that I took with Tita Kane. And I must tell you that we even went out at night, 3 ladies. Alone. I know. I know.
So there's the adventurous side to our poet laureate here.
Exactly. I love taking adventures. And with the Dragon Run, it's ranked second in ecological significance, according to a study by the Smithsonian. And here is the poem, Dragon Run. Knee deep in the dragon, I lean in to feel the wilderness. The brisk call of dawn splashes against ash and gum. Sassy, this liquid sun pursuing a cypress, its roots lifted from the swamp like stubby knees. Stooping, with a bowl in my hands, I draw from the depths muddied snails, clams, a leech snaking palustrine waters and squirming as I fish. Careful not to tear pickle weeds or cattails, I let pliant grasses braid the pristine path, nibble my man-made boots gurgling through the sibilant stream. Swishing like a reptile, the windless air sliced, I search loblollies, spy a bald eagle lifting off. Chiseled bones float by, opiate the thrall, I teeter, fall. Like a stunned doe I flail, the taste of sediment numbs my senses. I breathe in these wetlands like a wild iris. and as many people know, my husband and I started raising monarch butterflies. And oh my goodness, this was an incredible experience. We raised and released 454 monarchs. And we were able to do this because of my husband's creativity. He was a veterinarian in South America, and he's just amazing with animals. We have 2 stray cats that live with us and snuggle up. Monarch Butterfly, and this is in the voice of the monarch.
Okay.
Call me king as I hoist my sails in river winds. Call me sovereign as I sip on sap frothy as coastal waves. Buoyant, I flit, dart, I dance atop purplish pink blossoms until seed pods tumble to earth like silken parachutes. Call me emperor as I absorb nectar on an autumn day, as I lather fragrance onto stalks shaped like arrows. Call me travel chief. Crown me supreme ruler as I fly south to a warmer climate, cling to a pine or sacred fir tree, paint limbs orange and black, flitter like the tapping of a light rain. In time, I'll return as your monarch, breed in dwindling grasslands, battle to endure in shrinking habitats. Let me be a leading light, a luminary destined to survive.
Wow.
Now, I have a poem that is scheduled to go to the moon. It's part of the Polaris trilogy, Poems for the Moon, and it's a simultaneous poem. I love experimenting with poetry, but I'm only going to read one voice of the poem, In the Comfort of Light. As a disaster takes hold of the world, what is it like to live a life stalled? What is it like to yearn for a web of stars circling the sky, for moonlight floating overhead, a heavenly veil of comfort? There is no better healing for the spirit than light's serene reflection over a river's silvery surface, the flamboyance of waves soothing as radiant gleams flicker on and off, their jubilant dance ethereal. Each evening, as soon as starlight taps on walls, I take a much-needed stroll for the soul. As the moon and stars speak, I listen to their harmonious trill, resounding like warbler songs. Lost in the wash of light, I let go of darkness, bask in the cuddle of beams, surrender to night's thrall, seek comfort in skies divine radiance.
My. Carolyn, oh my goodness. Carolyn, you have taken us on quite a journey today. I mean, from, let's see, we talked about the signing teacher, a tribute to the signing teacher. You talked about the kayak experience. That was like, oh my. You talked even in the voice of the butterfly, and then a poem to the moon on that will be going to the moon. You have quite you've introduced us to the breadth of poetry in a brand new way. So
thank you.
Thank you. We want to make sure that our viewers have a way to be in touch with you. Carolyn, can you give us either a website, or what is the best way for Sojourn with Words viewers to be in touch with our newest Sojourn with Words family member, Dr. Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda?
Thank you. My website has a contact page. If you go up to the top, it's www.carolynforonda.com. And if you go up to the top of the page to the right, you will see the word other, and included in other is a contact page. And that goes directly when somebody writes me or requests whatever it is they want to know. It comes directly to me via my email.
Wonderful. And what would the most recent book be that they should inquire about its availability, the book title that most you would like for persons to obtain?
Well, actually, I love my Frida and Diego book, The Embrace.
Okay.
And this
and what is that?
also,
is
I
that
have
symbol on there showing an award for that book?
Yes. This
award
received, and you had mentioned it, and thank you for that, the Art and Literature, the Marilyn Kotz Award.
Yes.
And that's an international award that, believe it or not, I'm working as a judge right now, reading constantly. But that's a book about Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. Okay. And what it means is that, I did extensive research. And of course, I did a couple of tours of Mexico City with my husband, thank heavens, because all of the tours were conducted in Spanish.
Okay, well, Carolyn, we're going to have to wrap it up at this point. Thank you so much for being a guest on Sojourn with Words. I'm your host here on Sojourn with Words, presenting the best poets that poetry has to offer. And certainly Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda is none other than just that. See you next time here on Sojourn with Words.